A true Jew Torah keeper never ask somebody about ceremony stuff if a person did or didn't do. You know why? Because actually that's a responsibility between God and the person. That's responsibility. And that's the most important thing. Then number two, the ceremony stuff is to remember the moral mitzvah, for example, be do honest business, care about the foreign people, aka non-Jewish people, etc. It's actually to remind you about that. Even you don't do perfectly, or you do as much as possible perfectly, the moral mitzvah, even though you're human, you can be also imperfect. So that's the reason why to have the mentality to be perfect with moral mitzvah, because in ancient time they were not doing actually perfectly the moral mitzvah, so that they put as a ceremony to remember in that time, because they were hard-headed people in that time, because they used to be much more with pagans, because there was no such thing as Egyptians and Hebrew Jewish people at the time. The only thing they had in common with these people, they were brown skin. But anyway, so they were also all the pagans living over there in Egypt. They also were slaves. So these people actually they were hard heads because they got the habits from people they were not actually basically were God. Besides that, they didn't have the word of God either. The only thing they know there was only one God and one God appeared to Abraham. That's all it is. They know the Hebrew Jewish people in that time, the time of Moshe. Then after that, God appeared and give much more information what he is and what to follow. But the Hebrew Jewish people, the Israelites in that time, they were so much adapted to do whatever they had wanted and do stuff with the pagan they were doing it, that they were actually disobeying the word of God just like that, like nothing. So that's why they made the seventh commandment to remember the moral mitzvah, because they were not remembering. They were imperfect. So the ceremonial is just to remind them in that time to be perfect in those actual moral mitzvah. Today's day, actually, the mentality is all different. So now, actually, it's okay, ceremonial command. There's nothing wrong with that. Of course, actually, it is in its Torah. But it's to remind me of the moral mitzvah. But now, because the mentality is all different, because the people are much more adapted than it's supposed to be, doing moral mitzvah, not the same way the Hebrew Jewish people in Israel, because they were not adapted to it. So even though you don't do the ceremony sometimes, for whatever reason it is, if you do much as possible perfect the moral mitzvah, you're okay. Why? Because today's day is not thing as the ancient times. Because the ancient times actually there were people actually they were, for example, disorganized and they were following pagan stuff. Not like today's day. Today's day actually, if you got the moral mitzvah in your hand and you follow it and you get adapted to it, so there's no need somebody to remind you that. Because actually it's a recommend to remind you about the moral mitzvah that is. But if you are not perfect, there's a moral mitzvah, but you are perfect, or as much as possible perfect, because you still can be imperfect, follow the moral mitzvah by temptation, all right? So you still okay. Because reality was made for that. As I said before, it is proof right there in the Torah or Safar that actually it was made because of that. Because actually they were so hard headed, they were adapted, so accustomed to follow pagan stuff that for them the moral mitzvah is kind of hard for them, extremely hard for them. Even to this day, people that actually they call themselves Jewish, it's hard for them. That's why they prefer much more certain commandments, and they made the belief actually that they're holy because of certain commandment. When actually they're doing the opposite, they're doing the reverse stuff.